Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today I am in the oldest cemetery in the Houston area. I'm so having so much fun. Now, I wasn't drawn to this area. I'm kind of drawn to everywhere, but Michelle was drawn to this one. And we were looking at, I'm going to show you an up close of the last name Prudy, because the way it's written is very unique, kind of like old style writing. But one of the things I get in this area is being poisoned. Like right when I was like setting up the camera to do the shots, like I just feel like this horrible taste in my mouth of like being poisoned, and I can just feel it up in my throat. Like when you swallow, it's like you can taste it, and it's like very acidic, very like harsh to your throat. Is that what you're feeling? You're just feeling the tense
right here,
right in the chest area. And it could be that that's what the poison did afterwards, because I can feel like the taste of it going down my throat, like kind of just like really hurting. But this is a family that's been here for a while, and this is, I also get that this family is like a mixture of races. So there's like mixture race energy here. This is not just like a family that's a white family or a black family or anything else. So Ruth, of course, don't we just love the name Ruth? So this is who I'm getting, but she's pretty old when she passes, and I don't get poisoning from her, but I did feel it with over here, and that's probably her great-grandson, and he was passed in 1990. So, but that's when I connect that to the really acid in my throat, hard to kind of like swallow it down. And I also get that there was a female around him when he passed. So there was a female around him when he got poisoned, and like either was part of it or knew that it was going to happen, knew in some way that it was going to happen. It was like not like a shock to her, but as he's asking for help, like I can't breathe and I can't like swallow and this hurts or whatever else, like she's almost like ignoring him of like, don't worry about it or whatever else. And he's like, no, this is like, oh my gosh, this is something we're supposed to be worried about, kind of thing. And she's just kind of like passing it off. So I will say, if I ask if it's a wife, he says yes. And so, and I don't feel like they were married for all that long. It wasn't like they've been married for 20, 30 years or something like that. Like I feel like this was a short marriage. Probably, they're showing me like the number 3, so probably 3 months to 3 years. It's not a very long marriage. And when I connect with his energy, he's like, I don't get why. Like, why did she want to do this? And it's not like he's like a multi-millionaire kind of thing, but he had way more money than she did. And it was more about like the status symbol, and he wouldn't spend money on the things that she thought was important, that sort of thing. So that's kind of the energy that we're picking up with that, of kind of like, I want to buy things and get that. But this comes from Ruth, and she's telling me that this is like her family, and she was there when he passed, like in spirit when he passed. So that's kind of like this harsh energy. But I also feel like under this Prudy name, there's grandparents and great-grandparents in this area, and I don't think they always got authorization to bury everybody here. Kind of, I know, it's kind of like interesting. But I also feel like there's some other family members in this area that are buried, but does not have a headstone like they're supposed to. And so that means either someone came in here illegally and buried them, or somebody's like just put their ashes here to be part of the family. So it may not be the whole body, it could be just some of the ashes in here. But Ruth is telling me too that although she was older, she passed she was born in 1830, and she passed in 1912, and she's showing me very light skin, and she has like brownish red hair, almost like an auburn hair color to her when she was younger. Now she's all gray, we're not going to talk about that. But she is telling me that this is all about like this energy of being here with her family, being connected. And then one of those, like, she was much older when she passed, so she got to see several of her family members pass younger than her. So like she had a stillborn child, I feel like 2, like one was a female, one was a male. And then I also, like, so stillborn, like not like didn't even like live for a moment or whatever else before they passed. There are other people that have had stillborns in the family, and she says she has all the children, and she's showing me about 13 to 15 stillborn children. So this is something that was like genetically wrong in the female line of the family. One of the things I think is really interesting is Ruth and Ruth are really relating to this, is that Ruth is telling me that there was a lot of abuse as she was young. When she was born, probably as a slave, and it may not have been a slave, but it could have been also a family that was like, where she related more to the slaves than she did like the family, because there was a lot of abuse in the family. There was a lot of physical, mental, kind of that substance abuse, like a lot of drinking. So this is something that she grew up in, and we have like that kind of weirdness in common. So kind of like her energy is like, oh, I'm gonna fall for this. But she's telling me she's very light skinned, and she's showing me she's not from Africa though. Like I'm like, where were you from before here? Where you come from? And she's showing me New York City. And before that, Ireland. Showing me Ireland. It could be England, but I'm feeling more Ireland energy in that. You get that more Ireland?
I can see it.
Kind of like the moors and stuff like that, kind of like out on the coastline. And I also get that her family back then was into like shipbuilding or building or fixing of ships in some way, shape, or form. So kind of like this connection to the ocean. And so like their house was right on the water. And I do feel like they have like some type of pier or dock where they could bring up the boats. And these are small boats. These are kind of like what we consider like a John boat now, but if they're made out of wood at the time. So maybe anywhere from like 8 feet to like 15 feet. And they're done for like getting around like to the different islands. You know what I'm saying? Like not necessarily like